day one of starting your wild yeast culture. Today we're going to make your very first sourdough culture, otherwise known also as a mother. So let's get started. So you're going to have your container, whether that's plastic or glass is up to you. You're going to have something to stir with. This is spurtle. So again, you have your jar, and we're going to measure out 1/8 of a cup of my 50-50 flour here. So we're going to level it off. Okay, and then we're going to measure 1/8 of a cup of spring water. Now again, your ratio for the first day or so is going to be a 1-to-1 ratio. So 1 part flour, 1 part water. So we're going to put that in there. We're going to stir it with our spoon, making sure that we get all the dry flour mixed in. Make sure if there are any chunks that you do get the chunks out, because we don't want chunks. So nice smooth batter. In this case, it's a consistency of pancake. Pancake batter, and I'll give you a peek there. All right, so then that's it. That's all you need to do. And this, we're gonna let sit, in some cases, it could be 12 hours, 24 hours, or 48 hours. It all depends on your temperature, the temperature of the water that you put in the container, the temperature of the room that it's gonna sit in, where it's sitting, if you decide to put it under, or on top of an appliance where it's a little bit warmer, or in your oven with the oven light on the windowsill. I'm not sure, depending on where you live, again, what year and the temperature is, but just know that the cooler your kitchen is, or the cooler wherever you're placing this, it will dictate how quick it will start to ferment and bubble. Now, contrary to popular belief, this fermentation process is anaerobic in the sense it doesn't need oxygen to start bubbling process. So I just like to use a normal lid to put on top, and so I don't tighten it or anything. I just put it on loosely, and then I let it sit on my windowsill. Now also, as part of tracking whether it is fermenting or bubbling, I use an elastic as my marker. Some people like to use magic marker, and you're perfectly fine to use a magic marker and mark it on your jar where your starter is beginning. I like to use, because it's cleaner and less hassle for me, I just like to use an elastic to indicate, where my starter is actually starting. And then I could see the doubling, or, the process as it's going along. And I also will mark down, sometimes on the lid, sometimes on a sticky, the day and the time, so that I know when I fed it last and how long it took to double. Again, these are the things that we'll learn as we go along, but that's basically it for your very first feed. Now, if day 2 comes along and you notice bubbling and activity, you can feed it once again, 1/8 of a cup of flour and 1/8 of a cup of water. Give it a stir, mix it all in, put it aside. Move your elastic to the appropriate spot and watch for fermentation and bubbles. We want to build it up before we do any discards, and we also want to get the organisms active, and we want to keep as much as possible of the original flour and water for the first day or so, just until we see bubbling and activity and rising with it. So that's going to be your first 3 days, if it takes up to 3 days. For some, again, like I say, some people will notice after 24 hours they're starting to get bubbles, so they can feed it. But if it's not acting, or active rather, then leave it alone. Stir it, put it back on the counter or wherever you had it, and just wait for the bubbles before you feed it again. So that's it. That's your first step. Join me for the next video. to see what to do next.